Welcome to Board Certified, expert interview episodes about medical licensing exams and healthcare careers. I'm Tyler, founder of Achievable, and we offer affordable adaptive online prep courses for the USMLE Step 1, MCAT, PTCE, NPTE, and others. Each course contains everything you need to succeed, including comprehensive study guides, video lessons, thousands of practice questions powered by our memory enhancing algorithm, and full length practice exams. You can get a free trial of any course by going to achievable.me. And if you like it, be sure to use the code podcast to save 10%. Now, let's get started. Today, we've got Yulius Haryadi with us. And Yulius, I'd love if you could introduce yourself.
Sure, my name is Yulius Haryadi. I'm internal medicine physician working here in the US. My primary job is primary care physician, but I also work as hospitalist per diem. I'm originally from Indonesia, and I've been practicing in the US for almost 5 years now. And I am passionate in helping the non-US IMG to match to residency in the US.
Great. Yeah, so let's talk about that today. So, the classic pathway to becoming an IMG. I think first, let's just talk about, just to sort of set the foundation, what is the classic pathway, and then what are some of the new other pathways that also exist? But we'll be focusing on the classic pathway today.
Sure. So actually, I found it easier to explain it if we kind of trace back. So instead of
Sure.
let me show you the steps and this is the next thing, this is the next thing to do, like USMLE step one, USMLE step two. I think it's easier to understand it if we go through toward the end first. And what's the end part? Practicing as a licensed physician in the US, right? So that's the goal. So you need to be licensed in order for you to practice. Now the question is, how can you be licensed? In order for you to be licensed, now there are multiple ways to do this, but a lot of, because we are licensed in a different states. So for example, me, I license in New Hampshire, and there will be a different rules in New Hampshire, state of New Hampshire, compared to state of Florida or state of Missouri or state of New York. They will have a different rules, but usually the requirement is to have a residency. That's the thing. So you need to complete, like for internal medicine, it would be a 36 months training of a residency in order for you to be able to get the license. Now, when we talk about the different pathways, we're talking about different ways to get license. And so those are the one that's non-classic, which is the different pathways that start to open, like several states. One of them was like state of Florida, allow physicians, foreign doctors, to be licensed in the state of Florida even without the 36 months, but they have a different rules, like you have to be employed by academic institution, somebody needs to hire you, and so there are other, which is not clear how we able to do that. So we're not going to talk about that, but that's the idea. The idea is you want to be licensed in the state in order for you to practice medicines. And in order for you to be licensed, usually, classically, you need to complete residency. Then the question is how we get the residency. And the way to get the residency is usually through matching system. Now, there is a match and there is a pre-match. We don't have to get a very specific for that, but basically there will be multiple hospital that has a residency program, and you need to be accepted into those programs, and so then you can be trained inside the program. Then comes the questions. Okay, sure, I need to get into residency program, need to get accepted, but how can I get accepted into the residency program? And the answer is by having a great CV, a great curriculum fitting. And
Or
then the
resume,
questions come.
if you're
Resume,
unfamiliar with the
resume,
term
yes, great
CV. Yeah.
CV and a resume, yes. Then the questions comes, what do you mean by a great resume? So a great resume would be a high step 2 CK score, which is 250 and above. Publications, you need to have a lot of research publications, and then you need to have a US clinical experience. Now this is the part that's unique for non-US IMG for foreign graduates, because in the US, of course, you're going to rotate in the US. So you don't need to have the experience. You have those experience during the clinical rotations. But for non-US IMG, they have to have experience rotating in some hospital or clinic in the US, and in order to get that experience, you listed that in your resume or your CV. and get a letter of recommendations from US physicians. They allowed up to 4 letter of recommendations, and so we recommend to have all 4. 4 physicians that like to vouch for you, that you are a great candidate, you have a great personalities, you have a great medical knowledge. So that's what you need. And then this is a non-negotiable contract. You need to have an ECFMG certification. ECFMG is an Educational Commission for Foreign Medical Graduates. Thank God I still remember what it stands for. Now, that's ECFMG. Now, in order for you to get ECFMG certification, you need to complete a step 1, a step 2 CK, and OET, Occupational English Test. And there is one more thing that you have to accomplish, which is the ECFMG pathways. There are 6 pathways. It's going to be complicated to explain, but the idea of the pathways is you need to prove, to show the ECFMG that you are competent in your English communication skills and your clinical abilities in taking care and seeing patients. So those are basically the idea of those pathways. Those pathways replace the step 2 CS clinical skills, which I took years ago. They replace it with that. So with that, you will get the ECFMG certification if you complete that. So now we make the grade CFE would be the step 2 score, publications, USCE, US Clinical Experience, 4 letter recommendations, being ECFMG certification, which is a must. And the rest are all the volunteers, leadership skills, awards, where medical schools you're coming from, etc. So if you're able to have a great resume, and the resume, another thing that I want to tell people here, that you have to have a resume that focus on the specialty that you're applying. So, for example, research is probably the easiest examples. So if you want to become an internal medicine doctor, but your publications is all about surgery, that kind of doesn't make any sense, you see. So the resume has to really show that you are interested with that particular specialty that you're applying to. So that will become a great resume if you can make it that concise. And so now you have a great resume, you submit for the application through the portal, from the internet. We call it ERAS, Electronic Residency Application System. And then the residency program will see your applications electronically. They'll filter your score. They read your also personal statement. I forgot about that one. You write the personal statement and all the letters. They read all your letters. If they like it, they feel like you're a good candidate, they'll invite you for interview. Then during the interview, they'll test your communication and interpersonal skills. See if you can show that you're somebody that they want to work with. Then you get the job. So those are pretty much the whole pathway. Yeah.
Great. I want to dig in on a couple of things that you brought up.
Sure.
The first is, can you explain the ECFMG certification more? And really, the first question I'd have is, what is involved in the process, and also when are you doing this process?
Sure.
With relation to, say, like the step 1, step 2, etc.
Right. So probably I was not really clear about that. So in order for you to be ECFMG certified, you need 4 things. Step 1 pass, step 2 CK pass, occupational English test pass, and then you apply to one of the 6 ECFMG pathways to showcase your clinical skills. All 4. You submit all those documents to the ECFMG, which is, of course, there's a website, and then they will reply you, and you get the certifications. You receive it in the mail. That's it. That's all.
Sure. When are you usually doing that then? It's at the end, basically?
Well,
after all the USMLE steps are done.
Correct. Right. Exactly. So you can do it, or you can do it in any order. It doesn't matter. You can do it in any order. Mm-hmm. You can do your clinical pathways first, which actually just now there's a student that rotate in my clinic today, and she wants me to do the ECFMG pathway 6, which I need to observe her taking history, doing physical exam, asking questions, make a differential diagnosis, and I'll give her the score, and then I submitted it to the ECFMG. So that was pathway 6. That's just one of the pathways. So you can do that first, and then you can do the step 2 CK later, and then after that you can do the OET. It doesn't matter. As long as you have all 4, then you submit them, and then in a couple of weeks you get the certifications. Yeah.
Yeah, great. And I mean, Do you need to make sure that you're going to a medical school that's certified by the ECFMG, and how do you go about that?
Ah, that's right. That's right. So there is a list of medical schools, but they have to be recognized by WFME, World Federations of Medical Education.
It's a
Something,
lot of
something,
acronyms, yeah, just
yeah,
it's hard to keep track of all of them.
something along that line, yeah. And then they have a list of the medical school that is recognized by them. And then if they're recognized by them, that only those schools will be able to take the USMLE actually. If you're not recognized by them, which actually happened to one of my friend back when I was studying for USMLE, the medical school has to do something to be recognized or accredited of some sort. And then
Yeah,
so there'll
yeah.
be a lot of paperwork, and then once they're approved, then you're able to take the USMLE. So you don't need to worry about thinking, oh, I've done all the steps, I've done all the work, and then suddenly I cannot get certified because my school is not coming. No, it doesn't, not gonna happen, because you won't be able to even take the USMLE before if you're not accredited. So yes, that's correct. You have to be part of those medical school. Yeah.
Yeah. Then the next thing I wanted to ask about was clinical experience. So what are the kinds of, other than just things related to your specialty, which you already mentioned, just like, are there kinds of clinical experience that you feel like really help your resume as an IMG? And then how do you go about getting those experiences?
So that is one of the biggest challenge for a lot of non-US IMG, because the path to study for USMLE is clear. You will first, you do questions, all those. Eventually, you figure out everybody will get into the same thing. Same thing with USMLE Step 2. But then after they done with all the ECFMG certification, etc., they need to find a way to be able to physically be here in the US and do the rotations with the doctors. So we have multiple challenge here. Challenge number 1, visa. Challenge number 2, money. Challenge number 3, where?
Yeah.
Challenge number 4, the quality of the rotations itself, which involves whether it's an inpatient or outpatients. And maybe I can add challenge number 5, there's just some mentor that's not interested to help you. So we have a multiple challenges there. And your question was, how can we find out of where we can rotate, etc.? Well, of course, first of all, you have to overcome the challenge of the visa first. And you need to overcome the challenge of financial first, because even though you have somebody that you can go to, if you don't have visa and you cannot go, or you don't have enough money to actually go for the rotations, because living in the US is very, very expensive. Especially they require like 3 months or so. You need the flights, you need to eat, and you compare that to like Indonesians people maybe on average make 200, 300 bucks per month. Can you imagine? How are they going to actually come to the US? So it's a lot of those challenges now. Let's assume that you're able to overcome at least the visa challenge and then the money problem. Now, how to find them? Networking. So you can use social media like I exist in LinkedIn. You can go to residency programs that are friendly with IMG. Like you go to a website called FREIDA, FREIDA, and there are other websites as well. And then so you'll be able to see which programs are IMG friendly. Usually programs that are IMG friendly located at New York, New Jersey, Illinois, and California. But yeah, but that one is a separate. But I would recommend usually New York, New Jersey, and Illinois. And then you look at those programs, you contact their secretary, email them, and ask if they have any positions like observerships. Do you offer observerships rotations? You're interested. You just send a lot of what I call the cold emails. So that's one way to do it. Second way to do it, if you are physically in the US, you go to New York and you look around and then you found some hospital, get inside. Get inside and talk to somebody and ask, hey, can I do rotations with you? Can I observe you? Can I shadow you? This is my resume. I'm interested to learn. I'm looking to match. And maybe 9 out of 10 will say no, but you only need one. So that's one way to do it. And then usually a lot of things that non-US IMG doesn't know is like they can talk to HR, and HR can of that institution usually can accommodate you and find out how you can get on board. Usually they just need approval of COVID vaccinations. For example, in my office, I do offer the rotations basically free in my clinic. And unfortunately, they can only do 1 week, but still a lot of people would like to come in and do observership with me. It's still valuable. You just grab whatever opportunity you can get. So you just need to prove of COVID vaccines and then the HIPAA form, and then you get a badge. So it's as simple as that for a visitor. So I believe a lot of the other institutions would do pretty much the same. You can contact the HR, find out who is the HR, who can I contact with to rotations. So those are ways to go. And then the third way would be using agency or company, but they usually are expensive. A lot of us does not recommend to go through agencies. And in my opinion, my humble opinion, the problem is not actually the money, although a lot of non-US are going to say it's about the money. My problem is the discrepancy between the amount of money they give and the amount of value that they get. That is the issue. If I paid for $3,000, I would expect maybe I rotate with the program directors. I probably expect a one-on-one. I probably expect that they can help me with my interview. I probably expect that they can take a look at my ERAS CV maybe. I would expect that you are from University Hospital, letterhead, or no, actually that doesn't really matter that much. But I would expect some personalized letter of recommendations. But you pay $3,000 and suddenly you are with 5 or 10 different students. They give you generic letter.
Right.
They don't teach you anything. So, and then you cannot have your money back. So that is my issue with a lot of the agency, why I don't actually like to use and we discourage using the agency and actually go with the individual, just go with the individual physicians like me. Because I don't mind about the money, but I mean, you say a non-USMLE mind about the money, but it's not about that. It's just discrepancy of the amount of money they give and the value that they get. So we discourage agency. Just go individually, do cold, warm, email, connect, and network, and that's the way to get it.
Yeah, so I wanted to follow up on that. A couple of things. First off, are there groups that are not agencies that are more like communities, maybe like on Facebook or Reddit or even things like the foundation of IMG that you'd recommend people join when looking for things like this?
They usually have a private groups on their own, like Indian people have their own groups, Pakistani people have their own group, Nepalese have their own group, whether that's WhatsApp or Telegram. So they actually already have them. You just have to reach out and start talking to people. You go to LinkedIn, you see multiple posts, you start connecting to people, send in a message. Eventually, you'll get them. To answer that questions, I don't have any specific name of a specific group that I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen them. My students show them to me. They are inside the group. They're always, everybody are inside the group of some sort, but there is no specific name. It's just they form a group, from seniors, juniors, etc.
Right.
Yeah. Mm.
Okay, so look out for those groups, maybe talk to people, try and ask about them. The other thing I wanted to ask is, do you feel IMG doctors that are now in the US are more likely to hire IMG clinical assistants? And so should
I
you prioritize that when you're reaching out to people?
Well, I would say that
Like, should
that's
people
really
look for
hard.
people like you? Like you mentioned that you have IMG clinical assistants in your office, right? So I figure that's pretty common that you've been there before and you want to kind of extend that helping hand to other people.
Yes, I would say that the IMG from the same country were more likely to accept the people who are and helping people who are the same country. Then yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Okay. Well, great. Yeah, and then how early should you start the visa planning process and the networking for this clinical experience?
Usually right away, but the visa is definitely right away. The visa is applying right away. That's usually my
When you say right away,
recommendations.
do you mean like your freshman year of medical school?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I would say so, because that's actually one of the steps. So I have created videos before explaining about the steps that you need to do to come to the US. I mean, one of them, which I forgot to mention about the WFME, is actually first step. You need to know that your medical school is certified and able to take. You can become ECFMG certified. So that is really the first step. If not, then you won't be able to do it, right? The second step I mentioned to people is that you need to have make sure you're in good standing with your school. If you don't have any good standing, then you will have problem because you will need to provide a letter of good standing from medical council, etc. So you have to make sure you don't have any issues. Some people in my medical school, for example, had some issues about plagiarism or some sort, so that would be a problem. That probably they cannot be certified. So you will make sure you have a good standing. The third step is the visa. Yes, the third step is the visa. This is before studying USMLE. This is before looking up, what materials I'm going to study. Should I choose Achievable? Maybe it's a good option for me, considering all that. So this is before that. You need to know you can come. Because if not, you study so much and then suddenly your country is banned and you can't come. So, but that's not something that you can actually do if it's your banned country, I guess. Or maybe there is, if you try to be creative for it, you stay in
or just
country.
your visa
anyway,
gets rejected, right?
Anyway,
maybe it's not
yes,
like the country.
Correct. Yes. So that's why I recommend you have the visa first. Now, why do I say that? Why do you plan ahead? Your travel is going to be years ahead after your visa is approved. Why you need to plan ahead? So this is how you can plan ahead. So you need to create visa to travel to different country. Yes. So you travel multiple times to different country. Maybe go to Europe. Maybe go to China, maybe go to Australia, whatever. So you want to show in that visa stamp, so when you show the immigration officer that you have been traveling to multiple countries and back. So that is just one trick that I learned from my immigration lawyer. So that's why I said that is a preparation for the visa.
They know that you're going to leave, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so they show them, because the idea of the immigration officer is they want to know if this person is going to come back to their country. That is what actually matters for them. So they need to have that reassurance, and showing that you have been traveled to multiple different country and back, show them that, and it's still useful. And again, I know it from the lawyer. So that is the preparation for the visa. So once you got that, you want to apply for the visa for the US as early as possible, so you know that you can actually come and travel to the US. So that would be my answer for preparation of the visa and when.
Great. Yeah, and then my next question is about residency match. So
Yep.
you have your visa, you came to the US to get your clinical experience, you've been taking your USMLEs, you took your USMLE Step 2 CK. Now you're getting matched for residency. What's your advice for non-US IMGs on going through that process?
So I want to clarify the questions here. Are you referring to you apply and then you are now receiving interview? Or are you referring that you already got the interview and you already matched and you already get in and you're just starting your first year?
I think just the whole match process. So wherever you want to start.
Okay. So I think I will
Yeah, like
start
applying
with,
and you're hoping for interviews. Yeah.
okay, applying and hoping for the interview. So first thing that I highly recommend to people is to research the program really, really well. So that starts months ahead. Actually, now we are making the recording is June 12th. So now would be a good time to start actually researching those programs. Why you want to start and what are the things you want to look for in researching the programs. So what you're trying to look for is the program that has the residents that have about the same qualifications or resume with you, have a similar profile with you. So for example, if you only have 3 publications and the residents in that program has 10 publications on average, don't apply to that program. You're not going to get accepted. You just waste your money, because whenever you apply a program, you spend some money. So you want to find a program that fits with your profile. So that requires a lot of long research. So you want to look for the one that fits with your score, that fits with the number of publications you do, fits the number of letter of recommendations that they have, the numbers of US experience that they have, maybe which country that the IMGs are from. So you want to make sure you're fit with their profile. Those are what you're looking for. And then once you have that, and then you arrange and then do all those research, you can actually start sending a letter of intent. And I learned that trick quite recently, that you can start showing the letter of intent. Hey, I'm interested in the program. I'm applying to your program. What are the things that you're looking for a resident? Or, start asking those questions, telling them that you're applying, showing the letter, showing an intent to apply. One simple trick is attach your picture to that email. That create warmth. I saw one of the mentor instructor do that. I think that's genius. putting a picture showing that who you are, and make sure you have a great picture. So then you start doing that, and then you also prepare for the personal statement, and that's also require a lot of time, actually preparing your story, etc. Actually, I have a webinar about irresistible personal statement. It's at my channel. You can just look it up. My channel is Yulius Haryadi, and then so you can that's a free webinar. It's just free. You can watch it, how to write the strong personal statement, and then you write your ERAS and all those, and then you prepare for the application. So now, once your applications are sent, you want to make sure that you apply on time. The September 15 is usually the date. You want to make sure you're on time and all the applications are ready. Your steps 2CK is done, step 3 is done, ECFMG is done. All the retro recommendations are there. So you want to make sure your applications are complete. Now, once that's done, you wait for the interview. And then in order for you to prepare for the interview, then you want to have a lot of practice all of these common interview questions. You want to make sure you know how to answer them, what's the best way to answer them. And I would say there's one tips that I'm going to share with everybody today, especially the non-US IMG. A lot of these interview practice and mock is available out there. They focus too much on the content and they don't focus on the delivery. And that's the issue. They look flat. You can just feel free, if you listen to this podcast, feel free to YouTube and then watch those mock interviews. They are all flat. They're flat tone, rigid, barely moving. Some people are just rocking back and forth like this, So it doesn't matter what you actually say, you look awful, and then you don't have any enthusiasm. You're not energetic. You cannot articulate your thoughts properly. So I think the delivery requires at least at the same level of attention to the content. So I recommend non-US IMG practice their delivery as well.
Great. Yeah, and then once you go through that process and you get matched, what are the next steps then?
Yeah, after the match is another paperwork, which you have to apply for the visa and then J1 and etc. So, but the great thing is you already matched. You're actually already inside the system. They want you to be in their program, so they'll help you. So I can tell from my personal experience. After I match, they connect me with an immigration lawyer. Bunch of paperwork, but they help us and guide us to fill out all those applications for the J1. We go to the immigration embassy, etc. So you'll be guided by them. And how you prepare on the first day, well, that's difficult. It really depends on the programs. So yeah, but I think if you're ready there, you're actually ready. And then we will have a lot of support. You will have your seniors, residents, chief residents, they'll all help you for that.
Yeah, great. And then after that, so basically you go through residency, and then what are the kind of final steps to being a licensed practitioner in the US and then moving to the US, assumedly?
Yes, so visa is still the main thing that will differentiate what are the next thing that's going to happen. So I'm on J1. I was on J1. I got my green card already last year. Thank God. I was J1. So J1 would need to go through waiver in order to stay in the US because we are subject on 212E. Sorry, I forgot whether it's 212A or 212E. But basically, you're subject to 2-year home country requirements. So it means you have to leave the US, stay in your country for 2 years before you can actually come back. So in order to waive that, you do the J1 waiver, which I actually also have a video explaining the whole thing about the J1 waiver applications and how to do that. That I explain all of those about the $250,000 penalty if you get the wrong J1 program. You want to be very careful. So that's quite a long video to explain, but I would recommend to just go and watch that. So that's for J1. You go through a waiver. But if for H1B, you can basically just apply and find a job. And at that time, the website was a Practice Link. That's the website that I used to find out jobs. And there will be a physician recruiter that contact you and then help you find the job and then connect you with the employer. And then you got interviews in multiple different places, and then after the interview they send you a contract, very straightforward. You sign the contract, you get the job. And then in that process you will also need to be licensed in that particular state where you got your job. So once you get your job, you're accepted, the contract and etc will be used to apply for the license practice. Actually, it's not the contract. The contract was for J1. I'm sorry, I confused it. I'll take that back. The contract was for the J1 application package. But to be licensed in the state, I don't think you actually need the job contract. But yeah, then you apply for the state license. Once they're approved, then everything just move. Yeah, there you go.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a really good overview. Thank you for sharing all of that. Is there
sure.
anything that we missed that you feel like is important that we cover, or just any final advice or encouragement?
Yeah, probably one thing that I found interesting here is that this is something that they don't teach in residency, something that a lot of people miss, which is managing your finance. A non-US IMG has zero knowledge about tax, you know. So they have a zero knowledge of, if you ask any foreign graduates right now, maybe they already matched, maybe they're gonna get in, maybe they're already about to start in July 1st. You ask these people, you can ask, do you know what 401k is? They're gonna say, what's that? Do you know
Right.
what Roth is? Do you know what IRA is? Huh? So they will have no idea about that, but they can actually start investing early because they're physicians. And then the great thing about non-US IMG, actually they start usually without any debt, no student loans, etc. I would highly encourage and people to, physicians to start build their wealth early, find out about those, tax savings, tax free growth, all those stuff that don't teach you in medicine. But I think that is really, really important, especially if you are physicians. So you want to make sure you know all that short-term, long-term disability, especially your surgeon. You want to protect your wealth and all those. So that's probably another thing. Once you match, you need to know how to live in America, right? You know
Right.
how to live.
Yeah,
Credit
that could
score
be
is
in the
important.
whole episode for next time, right?
Yeah, maybe another episode. Yeah, credit score is important. Buying house, you need a credit score. And then all these APR, all those, I have zero idea about that, and I feel like I get scammed when I first buy my first car. But anyway, that's another story.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah,
Yeah.
just any like final words of encouragement.
Final words, encouragement. Well, I would say that to a lot of, and I've been saying this in my YouTube channel as well. In my opinion, and maybe in my completely biased opinion, I think USMLE is worth it. Is worth it because you do make, one thing is about money. Of course, physicians make a lot of money here. Second thing is time, because the dollars per hour is very large. It's very hard to really, really beat that. I just received a text from a friend in this, literally this morning. I have kids. I got no time. I got no time to play. I got no time to do really anything. Well, because you wake up like 7 a.m. in the morning, and then you keep working until 9 p.m. at night. You see, and then
Right.
you also work Saturday and Sunday. And you don't actually make maybe 6,000-7,000 bucks a month. So for working almost 7 days a week, so it's hard to beat that. And then the third one is more important, would be patient satisfaction. It's the satisfaction of working here because of the technology. Your patient does get better with all the technology that we have here. So, and it also has a great environment to work. People are very open, very open-minded. I never feel, any racial or religious discriminations when I'm working here. So I think USMLE is worth it. I think if you're a doctor, then the US is where you want to be. That's what I think,
Yeah,
and it's totally worth it. So yeah,
great. Yeah, thank you so much. This has been Board Certified, hosted by Tyler from Achievable with Yulius Haryadi. And we'll be sure to link to his YouTube channel in the description of this video below. And Achievable has great online courses for the USMLE Step 1, among others. You can try them out for free by going to achievable.me.